My name is Yuri. I was born into an established circus family, the Gridnevs. Our family's story started in the town of Blagoveshchensk on the Amur River in Siberia. This river formed the border with China. My father Misha was one of four brothers that started performing in a small circus run by their father, Simon. He was a blacksmith and used to show horses in his backyard. As the boys grew up, they would display their acrobatic skills and form human pyramids alongside the horse show. Little did they know at this time how these early performances would set them off not just into a circus career, but into an ever-expanding circus family. In the cold Siberian winters, the river Amur would freeze over. The Gridnev boys would walk across the river to work in China and travel to distant Harbin, the city of ice sculptures. Sadly, Victor, one of the brothers, died of cholera, but Misha and my uncles Kenna and Dmitri were able to recruit a new brother in the form of George. He was apprenticed to another act, but had been ill-treated. Misha contacted his mother and adopted him as the fourth brother. It was on one of their trips to Harbin that they had an offer to join Isaka's Grand Russian Circus. That circus toured the Far East, including Japan, Philippines, India, Singapore, Ceylon, and Thailand. On this show in China, they met the Herman family, musical clowns from Russia. There were two young sisters who the boys befriended. One was Rosa and the other was Lydia. They had left Russia with the Hermans in 1917, when they were only toddlers, born straight into a life on the road. Having survived a massive earthquake in Kyoto, Japan, in 1923, the girls were soon part of the act. Rosa first met Misha, her future husband, in Harbin when she was just 13 in 1928, and Misha was 28, and then again in Ceylon. Once again, they went to different engagements, the Hermans to India and the Gridnevs to South Africa. But love was in the air for the two older brothers. While they were in Ceylon, Dmitri met Bertha, a Russian acrobat, and married. Later, they had a son they called Igor, who joined the act in 1946. Bertha's inclusion meant that their act with Pagel Circus was now five-handed. They toured with Pagels for 5 years, from 1931 to 1936. During this tour, Kenna married Eva, a bareback rider from New Zealand. An agent from the UK saw the Gridnevs act and booked them into the Tower Circus Blackpool for Easter 1938. They followed this with various variety dates, with Gracie Fields at the Hippodrome Brighton, Max Wall at the Metropolitan Edgware Road, and a performance at the London Palladium with none other than George Formby and the two Leslies. Later in the year, they travelled to the famous Winter Gardens in Berlin and the Tivoli, Copenhagen, on their way home. In the winter, they were at the Royal Agricultural Hall, Islington, for the 1938 Christmas show. My father Misha had met Rosa again, and they were married. I was born 2 months after they returned from Germany in December 1938. 1939 was the last summer before World War II and was spent at the Hippodrome Circus, Great Yarmouth. The season was curtailed due to the threat of war. However, Blackpool Circus continued to operate throughout the war years, as so many airmen were billeted in the town. As the latter act had proved popular in 1938, they returned for the 1940 season. Although I was very young, I can recall that year's water finale. It featured underwater swimmers powering model battleships firing at each other. This was to celebrate the victory over the German pocket battleship Graf Spee, which was scuttled in the River Plate outside Montevideo, Uruguay. In 1941, they were booked again with their trapeze act, the Flying Devils. For the 1944 Golden Jubilee season, they appeared again with the Amazing Gridnevs and Dick Jackson Max with their comedy bar act. This was a comedy acrobatic act where the boys dressed up as schoolchildren, 2 boys and a girl. 1945 to 1949 was spent with Chipperfield Circus. The first year it was called the Great Caucasian Circus and was a joint venture with the Sandow family. From 46, it was just the Chipperfields and the Gridneff families providing the acts, with the clowning by Fiery Jack and the Austins. After the season, they joined a show called All the Fun of the Fair, starring a new upcoming comedian, Norman Wisdom. They toured for 8 weeks as a pre-London run with the intention of opening at St Martin's Lane Theatre. Unfortunately, the sponsor Slazenger did not think Norman was a big enough name for the London stage, so they cancelled the show. A very short time later, with the same material he used in the show, he became a very big name. 1950 now, and the Gridneffs were with Wilkie's Circus in New Brighton. A wonderful show with numerous famous acts, including the Fratellini brothers and the Clairons from France. In 1951, they spent their last ever engagement with Radio Circus in France, touring the country for 11 months, mainly one-night stands, maximum 4 days in any one place. This was a novel combination of circus and variety. The first half featured the Gruss family circus with guest acts, including the Gridneffs. In the second half, late in the evening, a lorry was backed into the ring and developed into a stage. This show was broadcast on Radio Luxembourg and starred Zappy Max, a well-known celebrity. He presented a talent show which was sponsored by Doc Shampoo. After this season, the Gridneffs retired. However, my parents and I worked on becoming the 3 Gridneffs, and Igor Gridneff went on to do a solo ladder act. George had left the act after the war and married Lydia, and their act continued as George and Lydia very successfully, even appearing on The Ed Sullivan Show in 1958. So the Gridneffs were to carry on through to the 60s. My wife Tonya and I continued to spread the joy of the circus as we now run Blackpool Circus School. But that's another story.